Welcome back to Better Kansas City. It is a tough topic and most people don't want to talk about it, but having no end-of-life plan can put stress on you or your loved ones. Here to help us start that conversation is Dr. Michael Liston from St. Mary's Medical Center. So first up, you have been practicing medicine as a cardiologist for a long time and of course a high-ranking official. What are some of the barriers you've seen over time?
So when it comes to end-of-life decision-making, I think the biggest barrier is that most people just don't give it a thought until it's too late. In my role on the front line as a cardiologist, I often see patients come into the hospital and they get very sick very quickly, and before you know it, they're in the intensive care unit, they're on machines, they can't speak for themselves, and it comes to their family members to, determine what their fate is, so to speak.
And if they did not have that discussion beforehand, I imagine that's very difficult for the family.
It's exceedingly difficult, and I've noticed that more and more as I've been in this business longer and longer. I see the turmoil that families go through. Sometimes one sibling might differ from another sibling's opinion about how their mom or dad wanted to be cared for, so it often leaves the family in a very tough position.
Okay, so it might be a good idea to get over some of those barriers and start taking those first steps. What are those first steps that you can take?
So right, I think nobody wants to think about end of life. It's just not something people are comfortable with. And so I think that's why we started even this conversation at our hospital and why we continue with that. I think people need to realize they have to at least grasp the concept, yes, my life is going to come to an end and I'm going to have some decisions to make about that. And if I make those decisions now, instead of waiting, I might get to actually participate in my own planning. And so I think the number one step is choose a healthcare proxy. Who's going to speak for you on your behalf when you can't speak for yourself? And that's something you want to be relatively careful with. Sometimes your spouse might not be your best proxy. It might be a brother or a sister or a best friend. So once you've done that, I think it's important to have a discussion with that proxy and with your family about what your wishes are. And I think it's easy to be afraid of putting these thoughts out there because you think, well, I can never change my mind about that. People are going to think, they heard me say once, this is what I wanted, and if I change my mind, I'm not going to be able to do that, and that's not true.
So you would recommend people actually get some sort of a plan in place and kind of put that fear by the wayside?
I love that idea, yes. I think there is fear about even putting the plan in place, but I believe that once you've done that and get past that, you can have peace of mind knowing you've at least started that process. You've picked your healthcare proxy, you've talked to your family about what you would want in the event of certain healthcare issues. And that's a process that can be worked on later, but I think it's very important to take those first steps.
Okay, and you guys have been having some workshops so that people could get the idea maybe on how to start these conversations. That has to be a sense of relief for someone saying, I do have some sort of control in what would happen at the end of my life.
Yes, I think a lot of people, again, don't want to think about it, but once they start to think about it, they realize, yes, I should probably be weighing in on what I want done at the end of my life. And so we've had some workshops at the hospital called Death Over Dinner, quite a title, but it does get people's attention and they do come to these presentations. And we've had really good feedback from our presentations. We started with a small group, the next group was a little bigger, the next group was even bigger. And then we're gonna kind of put it all together this Thursday night at our hospital, where we're gonna bring in elder care law, social workers, notaries, and other people to help for people's specific questions. What is hospice care? What is palliative care? How do I go about even thinking about these things? So I think my real goal is just to get it out there and say, you got to start thinking about this.
Right, so if you do feel like that's overwhelming, the workshop might be a great place to start. Thank you so much, Dr. Liston, for all of that. Remember, that free workshop on this includes dinner and drinks. It's on September 19th from 5:30 until 8:30 p.m. at the St. Mary's Medical Center Education Center in Blue Springs. For more information, just call 816-228-5900 or visit stmaryskc.com.